And hello, welcome to another edition of Digital Transformation Survivors. This is the podcast where we talk to industry leaders about their challenges, their experience, their insight in managing complicated global web estates. So lots of different audiences, lots of different regions, lots of different methods of communications. And I'm really excited today to welcome Helga Eriksson, who is the global web leader at Alfa Laval, which is a leader in the manufacture of heat exchangers. So we're in the industrial sector today. So Alfa Laval is, have I pronounced that correctly, Helga? Alfa Laval, thank you. Good, I've got it right. It's a global organization operating in lots of different markets. And Helga brings really valuable insights in bringing enterprise level solutions for diverse audience needs. So very excited this afternoon. Helga, welcome. How are you?
Alfa Laval, that's correct.
Well, wonderful to have you on here, and thank you so much for spending your time with us this afternoon. So let's start. I'd love to learn more about yourself and Alfa Laval, and really get a picture of your role within the organization and the kind of things that you're responsible for and how that helps to support Alfa Laval's mission.
Thank you so much, Julian. Really good to be here. So thank you for having me. Quite thrilling. First time for me to do this. So I'm excited to see what it brings, but really happy to share my experience. Cool. So yes, once again, my name is Helga Eriksson, and I'm leading the endeavors, all things website, basically on Alfa Laval. I've joined it only for 1.5 years ago or so. So I'm part of, or I'm leading a newly established team there to, create a very successful global website landscape there. I'm originally from Germany, but I've been in Sweden for 13 years. So hence I ended up at Alfa Laval at some point. What else? My professional journey is actually quite diverse. So far, I've actually worked in Germany, in UK, London, Denmark, and Sweden. So rather diverse from a location perspective, and it looks similar also from an industry perspective. I've been in all sorts of industry, from the telecom industry with Sony and Sony Ericsson to more tech orientation with Cisco and AMD and ATI. And then the last 10 years, actually, I spent more in industrial companies like Maersk, the transportation company, and Alfa Laval and Trelleborg Group. But one common denominator across all the diverse countries and industries is actually the field that I'm in, and that's always been marketing. And in the last 10 years, I spent it in digital marketing in particular, actually in social media and web management. So hence, I'm happy to share some of those learnings, the do's, the don'ts, and what have you in the session today. I'm hoping that will help people.
I'm sure it absolutely will, because that's an amazing journey. So you've got some incredibly big names there in the technology sector, utilities, I guess, in a way, sector. Going on to organisations like Maersk and then now with Alfa Laval. What is it that what are the unique features of running a web presence for a global organization operating in the industrial sector? What does that landscape look like?
It's obviously usually quite diverse, right? And that actually brings me to, because we talked in the introduction session a little bit about the CMS. It starts off with that. You can't just take WordPress and Squarespace solution for that. You need a proper, robust CMS for large and complex organization that has obviously multi-language, multi-regional sites. In our case, it is a central.com, but then we actually have 43 local domains and languages. So there it's incredibly diverse, and it was similar in all the other organizations. You usually have lots of localization efforts.
And the platform that you've chosen to support the Alfa Laval present?
Yeah. So the choice itself actually predates my employment, but we've gone for Optimizely. And for all intents and purposes, actually a really good platform. We're quite happy. Don't want to advertise for Optimizely, but it is continuously in the Magic Quadrant from Gartner on the top right as innovator. So it is a very scalable and robust platform as such. So far, actually quite good. That's probably an additional thing to mention for robust platforms like that. You also need a proper tech organization, which we have as well. We have a whole team on the IT side who's actually handling the tech development. We've just upgraded to version 12 of the CMS, which was a bit painful, I will say. Actually, it was a gift that kept on giving, because it kept on going. It turned out bigger than we thought, which I believe probably more companies find themselves in that seat, that they think, oh, let's just upgrade to a new version. And all of a sudden it turns into that monster. We are literally just about to go live with the new version, but it's been a good year, I think, that we've been working on that. And was a little bit painful, but we'll get there. It's then I feel we are really geared up for the future with that. It's really one of the prerequisites you need in order to have a stable platform.
And you mentioned that you got, was it 43 separate markets that you're operating? So 43 standalone web presences. So I mean that's a real definition of a web estate right there. So 43. So so I guess the first question that's really interesting is what drives the decision to have 43 unique standalone sites? Why, as opposed, I guess, to one global.com with different like geographical areas within that. How did you reach that? How was that decision reached?
Predates me obviously as well, but I think what I've seen so far, having worked for other larger corporations, the website presence is often a bit of a reflection of how the company operates and how its sales stance is. Alfa Laval by default is very decentralized. It believes in very local implementation, really taking care of the customer locally. And as such, that's also why the website real estate turned out being very decentralized and catering very much to local needs, which is one way of doing it. I've also seen the other end of the stick, actually, at Mask. It was actually the opposite. Everything was centralized under one .com umbrella. And then there were local variations and local information sections within that .com. It basically reflected Mask's setup. So very often the website is a reflection of that. I think there are pros and cons to both of them. I don't think there is a golden bullet, so to speak. It really needs to fit the company. Having said that, the risk with that very often that many companies do, and literally every company that I've worked for, is obviously the challenge of how do we make sure that we're not too inside out? How do we make sure that it makes sense for the customer as opposed to how our internal organization is? I think that thin line every company needs to work, and people will probably recognize that challenge. We definitely have that thing to tackle as well. Like any other company.
That's fascinating. And that decentralized model, that's I guess it's a customer centric driver that's behind that.
Yes.
So it's the need to be have a strong presence in market, to be able to drive sales in that market, but also to be able to support customers in that market. So it's service support as well, and then creating that as a very local experience. So I guess you're very clear which domain you're going to, and I guess that's as a Alfa Laval customer, that's where your account is held. That's where your relationships are held. They're all held at the country level. So it makes sense to decentralize.
Definitely. And it also reflects not only on the website, but also on our internal operations. We have the organization along, which I particularly like actually in this area, where with a centralized model, you often struggle with local resources. Whenever you localize something, whenever you translate something, if you have local imagery to make it really more personalized to the local market, we really struggled at Musk to get those resources, have translation vetted, make sure that is there. And with the decentralized model, there's definitely the advantage of having local resources and experts who can actually help you in the localization and making it fit to local needs and customers. I really love that point, I must say, that we
that's a really interesting insight, because if you have the centralized model, by definition, all of your resources, all of your infrastructure is in the center. That's where your marketing operations team sits. They operate globally in their thinking, don't they? It's very hard not to. But I guess with the decentralized model, I guess you have teams in market that are responsible for marketing communications in each region. Yeah,
exactly. Okay. Exactly. So the advantage of having some central capacity is obviously you have the center of excellence centrally who knows how to build the house. I like using that analogy. So our central team, or my central team, is handling the house, the walls, the roof, the base, the technology, the safety, security, everything that's connected to the infrastructure of the house. But then furnishing the house is actually done by our product units, business units, and divisions, and local markets who have the expertise on the product, the expertise on the industry, on the customer, and how it's best sold. So that combination is definitely a pro for.
I love that analogy, building the house and furnishing the house. That's great. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And how do you manage? I mean, I guess one of the traditional challenges of the decentralized model is how you maintain consistency and control over some of the things you want to be really consistent. Yeah. So I don't know whether it's the way that you're measuring performance KPIs across your web estate, so you can compare market against market, or whether you are looking at things like consistent accessibility or consistent user experience, like brand execution, all of those kinds of things. How do you balance that within Alfa Laval? How do you reach that happy medium to set the markets free, but then maintain the governance at the center?
Exactly. No, it's definitely a challenge, and it needs to be addressed in form of a different setup than I had at Maersk, for example. So we now have a role that actually handles the web editor community. So we really need to bring the organization along, because it's first of all, it's capability building and training, so that people are also who are in the CMS who are also really equipped from a capability perspective. So it's training in the first hand, and then also guiding then governance, like you said. So we're working with now, or have started now in the last, this year, I would say, with defining processes which traditionally have not been in place, because there wasn't such a central team who put method to the madness, so to speak. But we're working with a phenomenal web editor community that brings everyone together. That we meet twice every week to customize or to cater to the different regions, because we are a global company. So we're really rallying them around this endeavor, so to speak. And the first thing that we are doing is really putting together processes. How do you go about updating websites? How do you make sure that we have everything in place, that we have thought about SEO, that we have thought about meta tags and alt text for images and everything? I mean, there is an array of things you need to think about when you publish websites, right? And the upcoming accessibility regulations are obviously even another thing on top that you need to think about. So we're basically working with set governance processes, how to translate, for example. Translations is also something that could potentially be the Wild West. Yes. So if you really need to have a good process around it. It takes a while. So bringing along a big organization is a timely effort. So I think you need to be aware or set your expectations there, that it'll take a while until you need to grind the stone and really need to bring the people along. But it's also an incredibly rewarding thing to do. Actually, it's great to see every week the people who are in the engine room and working with the website and improving something together. It's really phenomenal.
That's amazing. Well, you've given me the sense of this really kind of large coordinated endeavor. I love the way you use the word community. So there's a community of people. So that's lovely. And it's about people. This isn't about technology, is it? This is about people working together, about training, about enablement, all of those things. And I guess that's about instituting a culture within the organization. So it was great.
Exactly. Hence the time expectation. It's not a quick turnaround. You really have to. It really takes a time. It's time, or you need to give it the time as well to do that. And
no, please.
Yeah, sorry. No, because you just mentioned it. It's there. The one aspect is really the people aspect and bringing them along. There is obviously then the tech aspect. So what you can also do is a system enforcement as well, that you have templates, that you have certain blocks, that you have certain restrictions of what people can and cannot do, not out of bad will, but if there's so much you have to think about, there's a lot that can go wrong. And the more you can actually support it by system reinforced fixed templates, the better it is, actually. So it's those two strands that we're working with.
And that's one of the, I guess, one of the magic ingredients, isn't it? Is to have something like a design system in place that kind of actually makes it quite hard to go off-road in a bad way. So if the design system helps you make good decisions about, the brand execution, good decisions about content layout, good decisions about kind of like narrative development, storytelling, all of those kinds of elements, then you're already helping people to make the right decisions.
Exactly. It's really more a crutch, to be honest, more than anything else. But I think that's really the best way to operate if you are working with a decentralized model.
With so many markets, you've got 43 different markets there all operating. How do you get to, I guess, a measurement model for that ecosystem that makes sense for everybody? And like, do you it sounds a bit competitive, but do you measure market activity against other markets, and how do you compare and contrast, and I guess how do you promote best practice?
Yeah, exactly. And you actually mentioned an important point that I started before and then I got off track. So My team is obviously set up differently now
Yes.
with a decentralized model rather than a centralized model. So the people I have in my team are a person who is doing the processes, the governance model, and handling the community. So that's one fabulous person I have there. And then I have a person who handles digital analytics and web analytics. And there we're doing something very similar. We are actually having local people who are doing their local data analytics. We have one system. It's Adobe Analytics, actually, that we're working with, in case that is interesting to people, because a lot of 2 years ago, I think we've done the switch over from Google Analytics to Adobe. Also a little bit painful at the beginning because Adobe Analytics is more accurate, or at least that's. I worked also both with Google Analytics and Adobe. Adobe is more realistic, but as a result, lower numbers.
Realistic, but more pessimistic.
But obviously, exactly. Yeah, exactly. No, because it has a more accurate way of measuring the traffic. And obviously, when we switched, then the traffic went down quite significantly, and that obviously instilled a little bit of distrust in the platform at the beginning. But it is really a very robust platform as well, particularly for enterprise. It's very customizable. So for us, it's really good. So we have a central resource who is really an Adobe ninja. We have them also resources on the tech organization as well. So we have that two in a box model a little bit. So we're sitting on the business side, and then there's always a PO on the tech side who has the development team attached to it, and we have that set up also in analytics. And so we have a central measurement framework in place where we do look at the entire landscape, and we do look at the different domains, which ones are working, which ones are not working. We will be also looking at the number of domains going forward. Which ones do we need? And do we really need all of them? Are they appropriate to the resources that we have internally? So there's definitely a very critical eye on that. But then there are local analysts as well, who are obviously very much interested in their domains or landscape and in their area. So we have both, really. And we have here too a bit of only just started it, actually, an analytics community who are working regularly together, trying to improve things, creating dashboards, and we have target settings as well that the person in my team has helped us set clear targets for us so that we know what good looks like. And if not, then there are usually reasons, and we have to see,
and do you see like large variations in the way different markets behave? And are there kind of like geographical, cultural, regional factors that drive very, very different kind of web behaviors? Do you see that turning up in the stats?
And also partly because we have a dilemma. We have many sites locally that are in English, for example, the India side or the US side, they're in English, but they're actually catering to a regional audience, so to speak. So we have more that difficulty that people sometimes end up on .com versus the local site. So we have that cannibalization going on. So people are finding the way, lots of ways or roads are leading to Rome, so to speak. So at the end of the day, the key target for us is obviously that people submit a request for quote or request for service for our rather complex products. So we don't have or hardly have any direct sales as such. So that's our key intent, and we have interesting customer journeys, how they go there. So that's what led us to see going forward what our best domain setup is in order to reduce the cannibalization within the different domains. That is definitely something that we're challenged with, and that we need to look at
that's
going forward.
in a way, that's one of the classic headaches with a decentralized model, isn't it? Because you've got all of these different domains, and really what you're saying to the user is that there is a right place and a wrong place to access within your ecosystem, and you want to help people to get to the right place, because they're not going to be able to do what they want to do if they're in the wrong geography. So I guess that must be one of your kind of like constant like front of mind considerations, is how to help those like cross geography user journeys and direct people to the right location.
Exactly. That is a big, I don't want to call it a headache. I don't think it is that. It's just a challenge that you need to find the best way. And that can be, exactly. So for that's obviously super important to know what the customer journey is, right? What are they, how often are they visiting? How are they returning? When they return, are they actually moving further down the user journey? So for us, it's really important, and it's going to be one of the key improvement areas that we have going forward, is that we optimize our information architecture. So our website structure has grown over the years. We have a huge array of products, and there are sometimes as many customized products as there are standardized products. So it's not very easy sometimes to what level of degree you can actually offer a global product versus this is the customized product that we're offering to the customer or the system, so to speak. So for us, we're embarking on that soon. That we're really looking together with the entire organization, how to best structure our website and tweak it. We have a good solid base there. The numbers show it. Our website is actually the largest lead contributor or lead generator, more than social media, more than email, more than any other channel that we have. So it's really important that we have a website where people find their way, and that is one of the key things that we're going to go on an endeavor together with the organization. Here again, we need to bring along the organization, because there's no point in a central organization saying, "Oh, now we're going to do it that way," but then it doesn't work for the local sales organization. They can't point the customer to the right sections if products are not categorized in a sensible way. So here too, we need to bring along the organization, and that's why it's probably going to be quite a big initiative to rally everybody around this. But it's so far so good. People are really excited to get started on this. The organization also sees a pain point there, which is really good. So it's not an uphill battle. It's actually people being quite excited to be part of this, which is
it's I'm getting the sense of it. So, it's a real kind of like hearts and mind activity. It's the act of persuasion and taking people along on that journey, isn't it? To understand. Wow, exactly. That's amazing. So. When we were preparing for this conversation, Helga, we kind of wandered into a conversation about AI, didn't we? And then it kind of
inevitable. I think you can always count the number of minutes until it's
we are. We're literally minute 28, and here AI has landed, and so we've done very well. We've restrained ourselves from talking about AI for 28 whole minutes, which is amazing. But we got it. When we started talking preparation for this, it started opening a really interesting discussion about some of the things that you're beginning to see, and I think it's fair to say that we're still in the early days of understanding what the impact is. I mean, I think, and I'm coming to this conversation from the point of view of how AI is changing user behavior rather than yeah, AI is a
Yeah.
useful tool in our work, isn't it? It helps us from a efficiency and a productivity point of view. So it helps us in managing a complex web estate. But at the same time, it's really interesting to see, like, are we starting to get some indications about how AI is changing user behavior? And I think you had a few viewpoints on this, didn't you?
Yeah. Yeah. It's really twofold. On the one hand, it's I think we're trying to now see if we can embrace it also
Yeah,
on our platform a lot more actively. There's obviously AI translations, which I think is almost a no-brainer these days that we're embarking on. And then there's also opportunities like having live agents on the website that really enable the search functionality, and it's a hybrid of a search and chat
yeah,
functionality,
yeah,
right? That you could establish. So we're looking into a lot of things that could actually help make our
yeah,
website better. But the flip side of the coin is also that users, to your point, are actually changing their search behavior. Whereas previously you had the key audiences was the actual user, and the other audience was the search engine, right? Whether it's Google or Bing, or then the Baidu's
yeah, yeah,
Baidu in China, and the Southeast Asia with various search engines. So that was the biggest dilemma. But that seems like that has changed now, or is in the process of changing. I think we're all recognize it in our private behavior. When you're searching for something or you have a question in mind, you turn to generative AI rather than a search engine. And we see that obviously also in our user behavior. So we've seen quite an impact on our traffic in the last couple of months. We're also hearing it in our network that I have. Everybody is struggling with that right now. The thing that we are not sure about, I don't really have an answer to preempt it. Spoiler alert! I really don't have a golden bullet here that solves it. Because we're unsure right now if it is, I think we
yeah,
called it good
yeah,
riddance, or is it really traffic that we
yeah,
should be having? If people are looking for the definition of a heat exchanger, it's probably a user that has a very low level of intent and wouldn't ever convert on our website anyhow. So is it then not so, uh, yeah, is it not a big thing that that traffic is lost? Or should we worry about it so that we show up when somebody is looking for a heat exchanger, that there is an Alfa Laval reference website? And eventually, as you work on it with people over time, they will turn into a high intent user. I'm leaning towards the latter. I think we need to be there. I think we need to, over time, really make sure that we're showing up in Gen AIs. And yeah, how do we do that? We'll have a closer look at that. We have done some initial investigation. A lot of the things that you should do in order to, I think they call it
yeah,
GEO, generative engine optimization. Um, I think a lot of things that you need to optimize for there, you would have to do for good search engine optimization anyhow, or for search engines as
yeah,
well. So I've yet to really put the finger on what it is specifically. Is it content that is in question and answer form, FAQs, for example, or yeah, I'm sure there are certain formats or things that you can do in order to really show up in the chat GPTs and co-pilots of this world.
it's
It's an interesting
fascinating.
one because it will eventually mean probably that we need to adjust our targets, or we have not only an organic search
Yeah,
target, but we also have a generative AI
yeah,
target. I think that is going to evolve and make its way into our target setting and our into
mm.
our
and
operations.
I, yeah, I can
Yeah.
imagine like the way that we we construct the context for a large language model or for a prompt. The context behind it is all that almost feels like that's the kind of the search parameters of the future, that we're going to need to expose the content, the relevant content on our sites, almost as the context ready to be consumed very, very efficiently by these models. And I guess the other thing that could be turning up at some point, that we believe is on the way, is how users will be tasking their own agents to conduct activity on their behalf. Now, it's probably too soon to see whether that's turning up in the statistics, but I mean that's a fascinating one to be looking for.
That'll be definitely fascinating, and I think the one thing that this new reality does or shows is that, yes, we need to continue to improve our content, our structure, and everything that we would have done irrespective, but it shows that we need to do it faster. I think that's the key thing. To my earlier point, it takes a while to bring the organization along and everything. That is very true, but I think the sense of urgency has gone up. That is the key takeaway from me at the moment, that do we have to do things so vastly different? I don't think so, but we need to do it faster.
Interesting.
I think that will be for me.
Interesting. And this is a relatively recent change. I mean, so you've been in post at Alfa Laval for just over a year now, did you say, or a little bit than a year? So 1.5 years. So this is something which is becoming more and more pressing, isn't it, during that period? Yeah, amazing.
Yes. It was. I mean, even at Mask, we were developing our own chat GPT, so to speak, internally. So we were already working with it then, but we did not realize that the broad user behavior would change so drastically. I don't think many people in the corporate organizations really saw it coming their way. I think that's really something that we woke up to this year. Or maybe it's just me. I don't know.
No. I mean, it's a theme. I mean, on this cast, we talk about it, quite a lot. I think it's a theme that there's that awareness. We've had B2C communications, we've had B2B communications, and now we've got B2A communications. Coming along. Everyone's getting ready for it, and I mean, it presents a fascinating new world, because these agents. What's the best way? They have agency. They can do stuff. They're given a mandate. They can purchase. Exactly. They can research. They can they can query. They can do all kinds of things. So they're acting as a proxy for purchasers, and that's a very new reality that we're going to be waking up to. Very very interesting area. Mm-hmm. So I guess just bringing it to. Bringing our conversation to a little bit of a conclusion today, it'd be great just to ask, in the time that you've been a leader within the digital marketing space, and especially working for such an array of amazing organizations, what do you think the main challenges are? And I guess from the perspective of someone coming into the industry for the first time, the next generation of people coming in, what do they have to think about that we didn't? And what advice would you give them?
Oh my goodness! Okay, you put me off guard on that one. I think the last 10 minutes really summed it up quite nicely, right? That it's a new reality now, completely, and I think quite a clash. What you mentioned before, B2C, I think, is a lot more on the forefront. B2C, B2B, like in larger corporations, slower corporations. I'll really watch this space going forward, because with all the agentic solutions going forward, it will disrupt the behavior, and it will disrupt how corporations will work. They are traditionally really slow, and that is just the biggest crux of the matter. You can't be slow today. So that's really, I don't know if I have any advice as such, but I really will watch this space in the next 1.5, 2 years. It'll be really interesting to see how the corporate world will actually work with the new reality.
I think that's excellent advice,
yeah.
Helga. I think you could summarize it as
Yeah.
as keep your eyes open and keep up. Those two things.
Yeah.
We the one thing that we
Yeah.
can be sure of is that things are going to change really, really drastically.
Yes, exactly.
Well, Helga,
exactly.
thank you so much. It's been really, really wonderful talking to you this afternoon. I've really enjoyed it, and we've covered like a range of different subjects.
Thank you,
And
Julian.
it'd be lovely to have you back on the cast maybe next year when there's been a bit of a change, or
Yep.
maybe if the change is that quick, maybe in a few months.
Yeah. When the new reality has set in,
please,
I'm
absolutely.
happy to.
Yeah, that would
on
be
the other
great.
end.
When you start to see evidence, when your hypothesis has been confirmed or denied, it would be great to get you back on the card so we could discuss it again.
Wonderful, Julian.
Marvelous.
I would love
Thank you
that.
so much, Helga.
Thank you so much.